Hey guys, Gabe here, Westcoast SCI Physiotherapy. Just gonna try something new for the new year and create a few videos for people to follow along when you're at work and wanting to get a quick workout in and don't have any equipment or have minimal equipment and just need some fresh ideas. So follow along and if they're popular, we'll see how many of these I make. So I got couple 10-pound dumbbells. You don't have to have dumbbells or barbells or anything, but I just like to have a little extra and body weight for myself. And I'll talk along as we go and see how we go. So first, obviously, we want to do a bit of a warm up. So I'm going to try to stand back here. As you can see, I'm in a stairway. Really just trying to see what we can do in a minimal situation. Somebody come into here. Okay. Turn that around. There you are, you're good. You see this little makeshift here, but like I said, it's really point of trying to see what people can do with minimal equipment and no time, because I'm sure as most of you, like myself, out there, try to squeeze in workouts when you can, if at all, and really trying to find ways to maximize your time when you don't have any time and have families and busy lives. And I'm really trying to minimize the excuses or reasons for people not to exercise, because as we know, what the real key to getting the results and the longevity is to do it consistently, and it's easier said than done. I keep on reaching down just so people can see, but I'm just going to reach down off my toes and reach up. Just really just doing an active warm up here, just to make sure that I try to hit as many joints as possible, get things moving a little bit. And as you can see, I'm not really doing any static, I'm not doing any actually static holds, but just moving through range of motion. Hi there. Come on through. Hi. So as you can see, this is a busy hallway. But again, there's no excuse for people to not exercise. I mean, it's maybe a bit odd at first for some people to have people walking around when you're exercising, and I do this is not the best place to work out myself. But sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. It's either that or not working out, so you gotta choose what you're gonna do. Hi there. Yeah, this is a good one for hamstring, actually. Sorry, I got millions of guys walking by here. That's not as busy as it usually is. So this one I want you to see a little bit better. And if nothing else, what I'm just doing with my warm up could actually be a good little thing for you guys to work on. So what I'm going to do is reach down, grab ankles, and then just kind of squat down, but maintain the grip on my ankles to get a bit of, well, obviously a squat-like movement, but also stretch out the hands a little bit in the glutes. So usually rep this out, maybe let's say 10, 15 times. You'll actually probably get a bit of a burn even from doing this. And as you can see, my pace is relatively quick because I'm trying to just prep my body to get moving. And like probably some of you watching the Weekend Warriors out there, really what I want to do is get my body primed up to move, but also allow me to move in a safe way without getting hurt. Not just when I'm working out, but when I'm being a weekend warrior and going for a bike ride or playing basketball or whatever those fun, especially in the winter here, skiing, snowboarding as well. But I think the key of all this is really trying to increase it. And I know out there, if people are into YouTube and stuff, I've heard of Peter Attia. I feel is a really intelligent person out there. Highly recommend checking him out and seeing some of his podcasts. But working on your not just longevity or a long-term lifespan, but focusing on that health span. So not only are you living longer years, but physically capable of doing activities and being healthy into your later life. So again, this is just my warm up here. It does take me about 5 minutes to get through. But again, I'm trying to hit all my limbs, just get things warmed up, ready to go. Last one, I just like to do a little bit of hip rotation, hip cars. Like most people out there, your hips tend to be really tight, and we don't spend enough time getting them moving into those ranges that they should be able to move. Another podcast I listened to recently, which is pretty fresh out there, one of my favorite podcasters actually these days, Andrew Huberman. Big props to him. I think his content is really interesting, fascinating, educational. He had a guest, Kelly Starrett, another physiotherapist out there that's got a lot of content as well. So he's another one that I like to listen to. But they did the podcast together on Andrew Huberman's podcast the other day. Super excellent, lots of information there. I really got a lot out of it. Recommend you guys getting in on that too, because it was very informative. Okay, we're finally getting to our strengthening here. But again, like I said, if you don't have much time and all you got time for is that little warm-up, absolutely better than nothing. Highly recommended at least get you moving, especially if you work like a sedentary desk-like job. Really good to get yourself out of your chair and get the blood flow a little bit. Okay, again, you don't have to have these. Without them, it's totally fine. I'm going to press them over my head. Straight press, and then just do some lunges off this second stair. Again, I'm just going to throw in the exercises I'm going to do today. They can all be modified and adjusted according to what your body can handle, depending if you're an avid person that exercises regularly. If not, obviously you're not going to maybe start with the ones I'm starting, but tone it down a little bit. For example, I would do it without my hands overhead. I do it without my foot up on the stair. I'll just show you one of those just for those of you that may be beginners to this and don't know what I mean. Again, I apologize for my lack of equipment. This is a bit of a on-the-fly thing that I kind of just thought about. I thought, why the heck not try to film it? Or this would be the version for beginners. Hands my hips. That back knee bending straight up and down. And then just doing kind of a lunge or a split squat, as some people may know the names of them. And I'm going to go back to my other leg. That one, I want to make sure I get both sides in. Just keep that back nice and straight. Engage through the core a little bit to keep myself upright. And then really try to get that knee down on the back leg as close as I can to that stair. Again, holding these little dumbbells with elbows straight overhead. I go at a pretty quick pace. Timing is actually a nice way to vary your exercises. So obviously, I do like to change my tempo quite a bit and do things at different paces or tempos, I guess, depending what I'm looking for, what I'm trying to achieve. Again, it's just, so I'm going to do a little calf raise here. Sometimes I add a little hop in that so I can get my body into shape to play those sports I just mentioned earlier, that you're training for a reason rather than just aimlessly pushing weights around. But I do this with that explosion there, trying to mimic a sport like I would like to play, right? Because in basketball or volleyball or whatnot, you're not stationarily just doing like a static calf raise like this, right? You're going to be hopping and jumping and exploding. So how can I replicate that for some sort of movement or movement pattern that I'm going to try to be doing next week or on Tuesday night or whatever the next time I get the chance to hit the court, shoot some hoops. And again, I'm just trying to prime my body to be ready for that activity. That's what it's all about. I think at this point in time, someone's coming here. Get them off camera. Hi there. The door. Yeah, just trying to, as I kind of, when I'm going off on a tangent, talked about health span. So, I mean, you could live to 100, but if you're, spend that last 10, 15 years bedbound and basically sitting in a wheelchair and not able to do anything, not say that there's, some positives out of that, but wouldn't you much rather be living to 100 and able to get out your bed of yourself or make yourself dinner or get on and off the toilet? I know it doesn't sound like much, but when you're 100, that's a lot. So what am I doing today to allow myself to get to that point where, hi there, come on through, come on, you're all good, come in. In your older years, that you're able to do those key activities to stay active and healthy and moving. I call these can openers. I don't know. I'm sure there's a more fancy word for it. So what I'm trying to do is basically do the hip hinge. In other words, I'll just explain this a little bit for those of you who've never done it before. They do have a video on this. It's a basic exercise, but I like doing it quite a bit. So I stand nice and tall, keep my back in neutral, but kind of bend forward at the hips. My pivot point's the hip bone there, really. Back leg is relatively straight, front leg is slightly bent. What I do is kind of open up my hips. So I'm rotating on that standing leg to open up. And then I close down on it and then repeat. So I'm using the wall a little bit to balance. If ideally you don't have to, that's great. But this is actually quite challenging to do without holding on. So I usually have something close by, even if I just reset my balance with it. If you saw earlier, I'm a little 10-pounder. I just put it on the outside of my top hip to add a little bit more resistance to there. And it's something to build up to. This is actually a challenging exercise in itself without weight. So if you're a first timer, regression or an easier version of that would just be a straight leg deadlift, straight leg hip hinge. And that was just this kind of movement rate. It's kind of like the golfer pickup. Back up and you can see that a bit better. So there we go. Hi there. Run through. Yeah, so it's kind of that golf ball pickup movement. Back leg stays straight, front leg a little bit bend. Bend down, touching your toe basically, keeping your back and pelvis relatively flat as you do that. So that would be the beginner version, whereas my version was holding that position, opening up through the hips here, and then closing back down and over rotating. So I'm over rotating up, closing down, over rotating down, and then repeating. Whew. All right. Next one. I go at a fast pace. Like as you can see, I'm constantly moving. It is challenging to build up to that if you're not used to it. So obviously take some breaks in between, pause the video, start when you're ready. My next video is going to be some hops, and you don't necessarily have to do these. This is a little more challenging, but I find your body is very, so I'm just going to be hopping up and down on the one step. Your body is a great adapter, so it will adapt to the strain and stress you put on it, right? So if you put your body in positions to do these kind of things, I see someone's coming. While I'm doing it, I'm just going to do a little stretch here. Hey. You go ahead, no, you do your thing. Yeah. So like I said, if your body is subject to load and strain and pushing and pulling and stretching, all that kind of good stuff, it'll adapt to it. And it might take a bit of time, right? You're not going to go from 0 to 100 in one day, but you're going to slowly build your way up to it. But if you subject your body to sitting around on the couch and not moving, then your body's going to adapt to that too. You get stiff and brittle and tight. So it's really what can we do on a daily basis to give your body that stimulus so it needs to adapt to it. My next one here is just adjust my angle a little bit. Leg up on the stair. So I'm almost doing kind of like a sideways groin stretch. I'm going to squat down into one leg. So I'm not really using my upper leg, or in this case, my left leg, but mostly doing it on the right. This could be done many ways. And like I said, I'm just throwing out some random, I won't say random, but some exercises that people can do during their lunch break. And like I said, it really comes down to managing your time, really. How am I going to squeeze in a half an hour to move? Again, it's easier said than done, and I don't expect everybody to be able to do it every single day, and that's not the point of this. The point of it, of these videos I'm doing, is really just to give you some ideas of what you can do when you are able to get yourself out of your desk or wherever you're working. On a staircase, as you can see, it's pretty busy, but people kind of just get used to me. I stay out their way, they stay to mine, and don't want to get them on camera, so trying to respect their privacy as well. But this one, I like to just make sure your back is as straight and upright as possible. I like to hold my hands in this kind of prayer position, but obviously out to the sides, up above your head is actually a great one for this too. Add a little challenge by having your hands up overhead and keeping your back straight as best you can without flexing forward like that. It is actually quite challenging and a good way to make this exercise a little harder. Like, I've only gone through one set here, but that's already about 20 minutes or so, right? So I might just leave it at that for today. Obviously, you could run through the whole thing one more time. Get another set in if you have the time. I'm going to sign off, and we'll try another one next time, but maybe grab a mat for our next workout, and we'll see what we can do there. All right, guys, have a good rest of your day. Take care.